feeling.
Okay? Okay, so thank you for your participation so far. We have established that the three resources you need to stay alive, well, there's all this other stuff in here, but these three things you need are food, water, and air, right? And that is what this unit is about, because incidentally, when we said, what do you need to stay alive, you all pretty much came on that you needed energy, and that's what food, air, and water is all about. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how those three required elements are something that we have to have in order to stay alive, what body systems are involved, and how does that keep us alive. So let me ask you this. On your worksheets, what did you say the function of food is? Yeah, it's an energy source, right? You know that if you don't eat, you get run down, you're really tired. Let me ask you, how long do you think you can live without food?
It's about, I think, 3 weeks.
Nick says 3 weeks. What do you think, Jason?
I thought it was 14 days.
14 weeks?
I thought it was 14 days.
Oh, 14 days. So 2 weeks. Of course they are.
2 months.
2 months.
God knows. On average, it's 3 weeks. So you were right, Nick. It's about 3 weeks. You weren't far off. 2 months would be a long time, and I'm certain someone has done it for 2 months. But they're an extraordinary person. Our second resource, water. 3 days.
3 days. It said that in the moral prosperity video, so we knew that one. What do we use water for? What did you put on your charts? What's the function of water? Why do we have to have it?
Water keeps your body, it maintains homeostasis, it's using ATP, and it keeps your body moist.
What was the second one?
ATP.
Yeah, it's involved in making ATP, right? Because we know it's up here. It keeps you hydrated, keeps you moist. What else? Did anybody put anything else down for water? And we know it's 3 days. Okay, let's talk about air. Oxygen is really what we're talking about when we're talking about air. Air is mostly nitrogen. It's only about 20% oxygen, but we've got to have that 20%. How do we use oxygen? What's it for?
Also ATP.
Also ATP. Very good. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it about 7 minutes without oxygen and then you're dead?
Yeah, how long? So Nick's putting 7 minutes. How long do you guys think?
It feels too long.
I feel like if you really conserve your air, you can go maybe about 24 minutes.
24 minutes.
10 or 12 minutes max.
10 or 12 minutes max.
7 minutes I feel like it's too long.
I will tell you this. On average, people can only live about 3 minutes without oxygen. And then the brain begins to die. After 3 minutes, your neurons begin to die. And as we learned, right when we were talking about the brain, when you kill a nerve cell, they don't come back. Right? So once you've got that brain damage, after 3 minutes of oxygen deprivation, it's yours to keep, unfortunately. And that brings us to the rules of three. The rule of threes is what we're talking about today. It is a survival rule, and the rule of threes says you can go 3 weeks without food, and you can go 3 days without water, and 3 minutes without air. That's it. And it is all about making this molecule, ATP energy. ATP is the energy currency that our body uses. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this unit. This unit is on power. And the power cell, the power substance in our bodies is ATP. So we're going to look at how do we use food, water, and air as inputs to have an output that our body can make ATP. And it involves a concept called aerobic respiration. I see you've heard of that before. Yeah, this, right? Biology
biology class. Good, you were paying attention. When you hear the word aerobic, what do you think of?
Involving of air.
Involving air. What else do you think of? Aerobics.
Flexibility.
I'm sorry?
Flexibility.
Flexibility, yeah. What is aerobics? Aerobics class, what do you do?
Isn't it doing stuff in air?
I thought that was in the pool.
I guess I'm a child of the 1970s. Aerobics were really big. It's exercise, right? Like you're doing jumping jacks. Let's think about this. The reason that exercise is called aerobics is if we stood up in class and we did 10 minutes of jumping jacks, right? Really doing it. What's going to happen to your body? How's your body going to respond to you having that exercise?
You're gonna have to. It's gonna use more oxygen than normal.
Right, you're going to start breathing heavily. You're going to start sweating because you're going to get hot from the friction of your muscles. Your face is going to turn red because the blood vessels in your skin are going to dilate, try to release some of that heat from inside your body. And you're going to start breathing heavily because your muscles have just enough ATP stored in them for you to be able to walk around, walk to your next class, go get some lunch. But when you exert yourself, you have to make more ATP, which means you have to have more air. So aerobic respiration, we know that the first thing that's coming in is oxygen. From the air. What is the next thing that we have to stay alive? 3 weeks without it. Food. You have to have food. And when we're writing the equation, this is a biochemical reaction. We're going to not use the word food, we're going to use glucose. Because, as we're going to learn tomorrow, whatever you're eating gets eventually turned into some variation on a theme of glucose. So we have to breathe oxygen. We have to eat glucose. And from that, we get ATP, energy. And this is the energy molecule that keeps your life functions going. So our inputs into aerobic respiration are oxygen and glucose. Our outputs are ATP and some waste. We've got H2O, water, which is a byproduct, and we remove it from our body in the form of urine. And, we don't think of that one. Carbon dioxide, right? We're all wearing masks. We're probably aware of carbon dioxide, how much we exhale it, right? Every time you exhale, you're throwing away CO2. So now going back to your charts that you were working on with your group, and looking at these, what body systems are going to be involved in this unit on ATP? Breathing. Which system is that?
Respiratory.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Respiratory. Eating.
Digestive.
Digestive system, right? Urination. Urinary system, right? And then exhaling, same thing here. That's what's going to be in Unit 3. We're going to start with the digestive system. We're going to move into the urinary system, and then we'll end up with the respiratory system. Now, I want to ask you, where do we get oxygen? From the air, right? Where do we get glucose?
Food.
From our food. How does that get into food?
Plants.
It's kind of weird, right? How many of you have had environmental science? Okay, yeah. If you look at my plants here, what do I need to give these plants
Light.
to get them to stay ahead? I have to give them,
Water,
Here.
light, carbon dioxide.
so for plants, I have to give them sunlight, which is energy. What else do I have to give my plant?
Water.
I have to water it or it'll die. Is there something else plants need?
Nutrients.
They need nutrients, but do they really need it?
Just carbon dioxide.
What did you say?
Carbon dioxide. CO2.
Yeah, carbon dioxide, right? We're talking about climate change. Deforestation of the Amazon is a problem because it's letting CO2 levels go high because plants, particularly trees and rainforests, sequester CO2 out of the atmosphere. And when we cut down the trees, so we have to give plants carbon dioxide. And they are going to use their inputs of solar energy, water, and CO2. They are going to make glucose. Plants are the base of our food chain. Without plants, there would be no life. And they make a waste product that is oxygen gas. And this process is called, you know it, photosynthesis. What do you notice about photosynthesis and aerobic respiration?
They're opposite?
Yeah. The inputs to aerobic respiration are the outputs of photosynthesis. And the outputs of glucose, energy, water, and CO2 are the inputs to photosynthesis. We have evolved our metabolisms to simply run photosynthesis backwards. And the energy that is stored in adenosine triphosphate, ATP, our energy molecule, is actually solar energy. We're just releasing it. Plants have trapped energy from the sun in the glucose molecule, and when we eat the glucose, we release that solar energy to run our own bodies. So that is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We'll take a deep dive. We'll start looking into the biochemistry of how we take food and break it down into things that we need. But I want to point something out to you here. Where on aerobic respiration do we have water as an input? It's a waste product. When we're making ATP energy and we're creating water as a waste product that we throw away in our urine, moral prosperity survives by drinking his urine. Why do we have to drink water?
It's still used in the process.
That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay? So I've got an assignment for you just on Canvas. If you'll go to assignment 3.1.1 on Canvas, you'll see there are a few questions there that I'd like you to answer in a Google Doc in your lab journal, and then submit that on Canvas for me. All right? So this is your independent work time. Thank you, Trace.